Christmas by Antonie Schneider, illustrated by Maja Dusikova. Translated by Marisa Miller. Benjamin Bear was tucked in his warm bed, but he couldn't fall asleep. "When will Christmas finally be here?" he asked Mother Bear. "You have to be patient, Benjamin," said Mother. "But tomorrow you can open the first door on your Advent calendar, and we will begin our journey to Bethlehem." "How far is it to Bethlehem?" asked Benjamin. Mother Bear smiled. 24 stories away. "And then it's really Christmas?" Mother Bear nodded and gave Benjamin a big kiss on the nose. "Good night now, little one." The Star with a Tail. On December 1st, just before bed, Benjamin Bear opened the first door on the Advent calendar. "Oh, look! A star with a tail!" he cried. Once upon a time, there was a little bear just like you. He discovered a star one night shining in the sky above his cave. He had never seen such a bright star before. It was a very special star indeed, because the little bear, full of curiosity, felt compelled to follow it. He ran over hills and mountains, swam across a wide river, and climbed the steepest rocks. But the little bear finally got so tired that he had to stop and rest. He lay down and fell fast asleep. When he awoke, he sprang up in a panic. "My star! Where is my star? I lost my star!" he cried. How surprised he was to see the tail of the star shining brighter than the sun. The little bear set out again, relieved and even more determined to follow the wondrous star. When Mother Bear finished the story, Benjamin pointed to the star. "Look at its shine," he said happily. "Yes," said Mother. "Remember that God is with you night and day to show you the way." The Eagle. On December 2nd, Benjamin opened the next door and uncovered an eagle. After the little bear had walked for many hours, he saw a very young eagle sitting in his nest on top of the highest cliff. "What are you looking at?" the little bear asked the young eagle. "I keep watching that star. It seems to be calling to me. I wish I could follow it." "When you learn how to fly, you can follow it," said the mother eagle. The young eagle thought for a while. "Then I must learn to fly right away," he said. "I will show you," said his mother. "You're big enough." Then she threw the young eagle out of the nest. The little bear screamed in horror. But before the young eagle struck the ground, the mother eagle swooped down and caught him, then carried him back up to the nest. Over and over again, the mother eagle dropped him from the nest, then caught him in her wings. The little bear watched eagerly as the little eagle suddenly spread his wings wide and flew higher and higher until he disappeared in the direction of the star. "Wait!" cried the little bear. "I'm following the star too!" And he hurried on his way. "Does the mother eagle always catch her young when they fall?" asked Benjamin when his mother finished the story. "If we trust in God, He will always catch us before we fall," Mother Bear replied, and gave Benjamin a big hug. The Blind Man. On December 3rd, Benjamin opened the next door and saw a blind man. As the little bear wandered over the countryside one night, he saw a flame in the distance. As he stepped closer, he could make out a man with a burning torch in his hand. "Who are you?" the little bear asked the stranger. "I am a blind man," said the man, "and I am following the glorious star." "But how can you find the way?" asked the little bear, amazed. The blind man smiled and said, "Do you see my torch?" "Yes," replied the little bear. "Everyone who sees my torch accompanies me for a bit," said the blind man. The little bear timidly grasped the man's large hand and led him along the path. Above them, the star seemed to shine even brighter, making the journey easier. When Mother Bear finished the story, she lit a lantern and placed it in the window. "If you are ever lost in the dark, Benjamin," she said, "remember that this light will be shining to help you find your way home." The Giant. On December 4th, Benjamin opened the next door and saw a giant. For 3 days and 3 nights the little bear followed the star. It was a long way to Bethlehem. His path led him through a deep forest. Suddenly the little bear heard music. He sat down to rest, leaning back against the trunk of a tree, listening to the music. He thought longingly of his soft, warm bed at home. The music faded and the tree trunk moved. "Hey, you!" The rumble came from behind him. "You're sitting on my leg." Startled, the little bear jumped up. "A giant," he stammered. "What are you doing here?" "I'm practicing," said the giant. "Don't disturb me." He picked up his harmonica and continued playing. "What are you practicing for?" asked the little bear. "I have heard that a child will be born in Bethlehem. People call him the King of Kings. I must find a special star to guide me so I can go to the child and play my most beautiful song for him." "I've seen that star," said the little bear. "The star with the tail? Then show it to me." The giant lifted the little bear onto his back and walked through the dark forest. The little bear pointed proudly to the sky. "See how my star shines." The giant jerked to a halt. "That's the one," he cried loudly. Then he lifted the startled little bear down from his shoulders and ran off. "The little bear helped the big giant, didn't he, Mother?" said Benjamin. "Yes," Mother Bear replied. "Even the small and weak can help those bigger and stronger to find their way." The Ant. On December 5th, Benjamin opened the next door and found a little ant. The little bear continued his long, long journey. Sometimes, when he felt tired or discouraged, he would look up and see a little black dot in the sky. It was the eagle following the star, and it cheered the little bear and gave him energy to continue. In the middle of a field, the little bear discovered a large anthill. The ants all stopped work to greet him, all except for one ant who was busy leveling a large pile of sand, one grain at a time. The little bear watched her in amazement. "Why are you doing that?" he asked. "My friend is at the bottom of this pile." "I would be glad to help you," said the little bear. "No, no, your paws are much too big," said the ant. "You could hurt my friend." "Ant," said the little bear, "you will never remove the sand pile by yourself, even if you live to be 100 years old." The ant paused for a moment, then said, "I am going to try to save my friend anyway," and she continued to work. Suddenly, there was movement among the other ants. They had been listening. The little bear watched as the ants began to help, each carrying off one grain of sand at a time. Before long, the entire pile was gone, and a little ant crawled out, safe and sound. "That was amazing," said Benjamin. "You see, Benjamin," said Mother Bear, "faith can move mountains." The Man in Red. On December 6th, Benjamin opened the next door and saw a man in red. It grew darker and darker. The path to Bethlehem seemed immeasurably long to the little bear. Snowflakes blew in his face. He closed his eyes for a moment. He was so sleepy. The little bear yawned. Before him stood a man dressed in red with a large sack slung over his back, leading a donkey. "Hello there, little bear. My name is Nicholas. What are you doing out on such a cold night?" I am following the star to Bethlehem to see the child that will be born, muttered the bear. Nicholas smiled. Then we are going the same way, he said. Without waiting for a reply, he lifted the little bear onto his donkey. When they reached a village, the little bear saw children peering out of brightly lit windows. What are they waiting for, he wondered. Then he saw empty plates and boots in front of the doors. Nicholas opened his large sack. It was filled with apples, nuts, and gingerbread. Will you help me, little bear? The little bear nodded and cheerfully passed out all the goodies. Now the sack is empty, said the bear, disappointed. We've given away everything. And because we did, we are nearer to Bethlehem, replied Nicholas. The little bear rubbed his eyes. It was morning. The sun was shining. Next to him lay a small sack with a card that read, "For the little bear." I'm glad the little bear got some goodies too, said Benjamin. Yes, agreed Mother Bear, but remember that sharing with others brings us closer to God. The Rose Bush. On December 7th, Benjamin opened the next door and found a rose bush. That night, the snowflakes fell like gigantic stars. With tremendous effort, the little bear fought his way through the deep snow. His fur was wet and he shivered. The little bear sank deeper and deeper into the snow. In front of him lay a little clearing. He squinted and saw something sparkling just ahead. The little bear bent down. He could hardly believe his eyes. In the middle of winter, a rose was blooming. The ice crystals sparkled and glistened on its leaves. It is so beautiful, thought the little bear. I will dig it out and bring it to the child. His little paws scraped away the snow. He dug his claws into the frost-hardened earth until they were dull. Finally, he was able to pull out the rose bush by its roots. He pressed the rose bush, stiff with frost, against his chest and warmed it. Just then, a flock of birds flew by and began to sing, and, as if it were already spring, the rose released its sweet scent into the woods. A rose blooming in winter. That must have been wonderful to see, said Benjamin. Mother Bear nodded. Always remember, she said, God's love can warm and brighten the coldest, darkest night. The Beggar. On December 8th, Benjamin opened the next door and saw a beggar. The snowflakes fell even more heavily. It was harder and harder for the little bear to find his way. As he stumbled through the drifts, he came across a man dressed in rags. What a poor man, thought the little bear. He looked so hungry. He held out his sack filled with goodies and offered it to the man. I was going to give this to the child who will be born in Bethlehem, the little bear explained, but I think you need it more. A smile flickered across the man's face. He will have some too, he said, and vanished. How light the little bear's heart suddenly felt. The road to Bethlehem seemed shorter to him, but he didn't know why. Why did the road seem shorter, Mother? Asked Benjamin. Helping the needy can lighten our spirits and fill us with energy, Mother Bear replied. The Well. On December 9th, Benjamin opened the next door and saw a well. The little bear trekked across a desert. The sand burned his feet, and he was desperately thirsty. With his last ounce of strength, he dragged himself to a well, but it was empty. Only mud and dirt lay at the bottom. I'll die of thirst, groaned the little bear, and he felt very alone. Then, in the distance, he heard a loud jumble of voices. He could see a magnificently decorated caravan moving across the dunes. Have pity, take me with you, the little bear called out, and sank back down exhausted. But no one heard him. While the little bear slept in the hot sand, 3 men dressed like kings came and filled the well to the brim with water. Then they got back on their camels and moved on. A small mouse had seen everything. She tugged the little bear's ear. "Wake up! There is water in the well again." It took all the little bear's strength to drag himself to the well. He drank and drank until he was no longer thirsty. Meanwhile, a fox and a snake had come over, curious to see what had happened. "A miracle took place in the desert," they whispered in astonishment. "Look, flowers are blooming all around the well." And the little bear, filled with renewed strength, continued on his way. "I'm so glad the little bear didn't die of thirst," said Benjamin. "So am I," said Mother Bear. "You see, Benjamin, God always hears our calls for help." The Pear Tree. On December 10th, Benjamin opened the next door and saw a pear tree. The little bear saw a pear tree at the edge of the path. "I'd like to rest in its shade for a bit," he thought, and leaned against its gnarled trunk. When the little bear woke from a light slumber, he looked up and saw that the old tree was full of ripe fruit. "I am so hungry," the little bear said with a sigh. "If only I could eat some of your fruit." As if the old pear tree had understood his words, it tilted its crown right down to the ground. The little bear picked many luscious pears, which tasted like the sweetest honey. When he was full, the pear tree raised its crown with a rustle. "Thank you," cried the little bear, and, refreshed, continued on his way. "I wish I had a pear to eat right now," said Benjamin, licking his lips. Mother Bear laughed. "We must always be grateful for God's bounty," she said. The Angel. On December 11th, Benjamin opened the next door and uncovered an angel. The little bear awoke the next night from a strange dream. He saw an angel walking on the path ahead of him. "Where are you going?" asked the little bear. "To Bethlehem," answered the angel. It was then that the little bear noticed the angel had only one wing. "How hard it must be for the angel," thought the little bear. "With one wing she certainly cannot fly." Suddenly he heard a soft voice behind him. "I too have only one wing and want to go to Bethlehem to see the child that will be born. I have heard that this child will heal all." Astounded, the little bear turned toward the voice. "You too?" he cried in surprise. At that very moment the two angels linked arms and cried happily, "How wonderful to have found one another! Now we can fly to Bethlehem together." "I wonder how those angels lost their wings," said Benjamin. "I don't know," said Mother Bear, "but it's nice to know that God gives us friends and loved ones to help us on our journey." The Lamb. On December 12th, Benjamin opened the next door and found a lamb. As the little bear set out again early in the morning, he sighed. "Bethlehem is so far," he said. Just then he saw a little lamb. "What are you doing here all alone?" asked the little bear. "Oh," replied the little lamb, "I am hiding. I'm so afraid of the cow with her sharp horns, the eagle with his powerful talons, even your sharp claws, little bear. I have no horns or talons or claws, no strength to defend myself with." The little bear looked up at his star. "You are gentle and kind and patient, little lamb. Those are your great strengths." The little bear stroked the little lamb lovingly on the head. "Come along with me, won't you?" he asked, and together they continued on. "Do you think the little lamb was really strong enough to defend herself?" asked Benjamin. "I think so," said Mother Bear. "Gentleness, kindness, and patience are strong weapons indeed." The Dog. On December 13th, Benjamin opened the next door and uncovered a dog. Snow covered the valley once more. The lamb and the little bear searched in vain for shelter. Then they discovered red footprints in the snow. "I hope there are no wolves nearby," whispered the little lamb, frightened. They followed the tracks. In a small hut lay a sheepdog whining softly. When he saw the two, he struggled to stand up. "What's wrong?" asked the little bear. The dog howled and licked its left paw. The little bear examined it carefully. "A thorn," he declared. "Hold still so I can pull it out." The dog clenched his teeth and whimpered. "I got the thorn," cried the little bear. "Now you can walk again." "However can I thank you?" asked the dog. "By guiding us through the forest and protecting us," said the little bear. "Gladly," said the dog, and led them safely to the edge of the forest. They thanked him and waved goodbye as the dog trotted back to his little hut. Mother Bear tickled Benjamin's ear. "You see, Benjamin, a good deed can bring unexpected rewards," she said.